One of the biggest stories, obviously, was Brad Pitt arriving at Silverstone to make his Formula One debut. The response from the media, from the drivers, from the crowd, from everyone was pretty much unanimous.
Wow, I guess this is a big moment. I should care about it.
And obviously the news that this is a Lewis Hamilton production meant that everybody was also saying,
Lewis, I love you and respect you.
Sure do. This is the sequel, if you like, to the story of Brad Pitt being involved in a Formula One production. Brad Pitt shares exciting Apex GP storyline influenced by Lewis Hamilton, says thesportrush.com. Brad Pitt recently revealed the storyline of the movie he has been working on, and it is believed to be inspired by none other than Lewis Hamilton. This was the subject of conjecture because I just sort of assumed it was going to be Lewis Hamilton's life story, and then all of a sudden Brad Pitt's in there, and I'm like, what? Brad Pitt reveals the storyline. Brad Pitt, who's worth around $400 million. That's shoehorned in there. I don't know why you had to mention that. He recently revealed the character he is playing in the movie. Quote, I'm a guy who raced in the 90s. Pitt plays a character named Sonny Hayes, revealing his story. He further added, Hayes has a horrible accident. He disappears from F1 racing in other disciplines. His friend owns a team. They're the last ranked team. They're 21 or 22 on the grid. Never scored a point. Admittedly, many believe the story is based on the Hamilton-Alonso rivalry from the McLaren days. And since the Mercedes driver is the executive producer, the story is most likely to be centered around him. This does not make a lick of sense. The story here, as Brad Pitt has just laid out, is a guy drove in Formula One in the 90s, has an accident, leaves Formula One, doesn't come back. I believe this movie is set today, which means this driver would be like 50 years old, right? This person writing this story says, many believe the story is based on the Hamilton-Alonso rivalry. So someone sat down and wrote this out, wrote down what Brad Pitt said. It's based on a driver who had an accident when they were very young and then took 30 odd years away from the sport, came back and drove for the backmarking ranking teams. And then in the next sentence you say, it's believed that this movie is based on the story of the Hamilton-Alonso rivalry, where Hamilton was a rookie, Alonso was a dual world champion who moved the next year to one of the front-running teams, McLaren. The person writing this was cooked. The person writing this needed a break. They were not having a good day, could not keep the facts straight. Another element of this story that has really interested me is the effect of the Hollywood strike, because you might have been hearing about that. So what does that mean for this movie? This from the Judge 13, remember him? Update on Brad Pitt F1 movie shut down. Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali has expressed high expectations for the upcoming Brad Pitt movie about Formula One, likening its potential impact on the sport to that of the immensely popular Netflix series Drive to Survive. Based on the storyline of this movie, I'm doubting it. I hope so. I'm starting to doubt it. The film has been granted unprecedented access to the F1 organization, even taking over a pit garage and filming cars on track during certain race sessions. However, an unexpected development has led to the temporary shutdown of the movie's shooting. Dun, dun, dun. The ongoing strike by the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, has led to an unfortunate halt. The strike, the first of its kind since 1980, revolves around issues of fair pay and the utilization of artificial intelligence in productions. Now, I have to say I completely agree with that. And there were these crazy stories of people saying, look at this contract. It says the studio can pay me for one day. I come in, say a bunch of words, they shoot me with a 3D camera, and they own my likeness like in perpetuity, which is unbelievable.
That motherfucker back there is not real.
100% support the strikers. Here's the impact on this Hollywood film, though. Regrettably, Joseph Kosinski's F1 film has also been directly affected, as the actors involved in the project are loyal members of the SAG-AFTRA union. As a result, all filming for the movie has been brought to a standstill, significantly disrupting the production timeline. Oh no. According to a source close to the production last week, all filming is shut down for now. Brad had really enjoyed himself, but he is definitely a very loyal member of the union. That's a spicy meatball. But wait a second. What is this? We can scroll down a bit further. Update for Hungary. Filming of the new F1 movie continues. Despite the ongoing Hollywood strike involving actors and writers, filming for Brad Pitt's Formula One film is pressing ahead at the Budapest Grand Prix for now. I also love how the narrative have changed, even from the Judge 13 here. It used to be Lewis Hamilton's film, now that Brad Pitt is on the scene, now it's Brad Pitt's film. Lewis Hamilton, the co-producer and consultant on the project, expressed relief that this can continue shooting despite the strike. Fortunately, we can move on. Hopefully, we can get some important parts of the film finished here, Hamilton stated. So what the heck? How the who? I needed to understand more about how strikes work and the conditions of the strike. I did hear somebody say the strike might only affect productions in the US. I wasn't able to confirm whether that's true or not. For sure, productions that are outside the US that are not covered by this specific union, not affected, not included. But, I mean, as was made very clear, Brad Pitt is a member of that union. So, where does that leave things? This from Jeff Bezos' Washington Post, unfortunately. Why the SAG strike won't affect shows like Golden Bachelor or A24 Films. A24 Films, by the way, if you haven't heard of them, go check some out. The labor action has shut down most of Hollywood, but not reality shows, some indie movies, and productions such as House of the Dragon and The Chosen. Most major film and TV productions were forced to a standstill after a contract between Hollywood studios and a huge actors union expired, and performers went on strike last week. But screens won't go totally dark. Some shows, movies, and even entire TV genres aren't affected by the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists SAG-AFTRA strike, either because they're not covered under the contract in dispute or they received a special exemption from the unions. Hang on, wait, I can't skip past this. Reality and variety shows will keep airing. I'll just read the headlines. Soap operas, some foreign productions, many TV shows and movies produced outside the United States can continue filming because they aren't SAG-AFTRA projects. So I believe that means even if Brad Pitt is a member of SAG-AFTRA, if the production is not under a SAG-AFTRA contractual agreement, I believe it can continue. Given that Lewis Hamilton is involved, it may not. But I don't know. Here's a juicy detail. This may help shed some light. The union has so far granted exemptions to 39 projects, including 2 films from the Oscar-winning indie studio A24, Mother Mary with Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole, and Death of a Unicorn starring Paul Rudd and Jenny Ortega. Breaking news, I will probably see both of those because they sound good. Broadway shows, television and radio news, podcasts. Thank God the podcasts can continue. Although, of course, the only podcast you need to worry about is the Super License F1 podcast. Blah, 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 blah. So the long and short of it is there's some exemptions being given. Some international productions are not covered. So everything is sweet, mate. Don't even worry about it. And we look forward to production rolling on, and we look forward to hearing Brad Pitt saying,
Lewis, I love you and respect you.
And then Toto will tell Brad Pitt, I'm sorry that you have to drive a modified F2 car.
The car is bad, we know. Please drive it.
Exactly. The good thing, too, that I noticed is that because I was worried they were only going to be shooting in Silverstone, and now it turns out they're also shooting in Hungary. And now that Daniel Ricciardo is back, he gets to be in the movie. They're going to have continuity errors now because they're going to have footage of different drivers in there. That's going to mess with people's heads. Like when Ricciardo watches this, he's going to go,
I'm tripping major nutsack right now.
I'm sorry, Dan, there's not much I can do about it. You'll just have to cope, buddy.